Hello again, Gate fans, Gators, Gaties. Y'all decide on our collective term and let me know. But for now, I will just say welcome back to my continued review of every episode of Stargate SG-1. I am Dr. Ursa, and today's episode deals with a classic trope when it comes to soldiers and advanced societies interacting with relatively primitive natives and establishing themselves as some sort of ruler or deity. You don't exactly have to be an egomaniacal evil snake parasite in order to take advantage of people, and SG-1 never shied away from the famous concept, the 3 laws, of author Arthur C. Clarke, namely the third law in that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. That is pretty much the backbone of the Goa'uld's power as well, but who said a 9mm and a flashlight can't achieve the same effect to folks with blowguns and coconut helmets? Let's dive into episode 6, the First Commandment. Cold open into a couple of SG team members fleeing through a dark jungle while being pursued by what looks like primitive natives. One of them gets hit with a dart while his partner dials back to Earth. The fallen soldier tells his friend to leave him, and we see a couple of modern-looking humans that have taken up with and seem to be leading the natives. The leader executes the fallen soldier, and we cut into the intro as they burn his remains. Intense opener right there. We see SG-1 arriving, and they make a comment about Abydos being the exception regarding plant life and Goa'uld terraforming, but we all know that it is due to the intergalactic plague known as the Canadian Pine Forest. Lieutenant Connor springs out of an ambush position and takes Daniel hostage for a hot second, and we learn that he did not actually flee through the gate earlier. I mean, I get it, but he could have briefed them all much easier back at base. Lieutenant Connor explains that Captain Hansen has gone full crazy and believes he is these people's god. Jack attempts to send Sam back with Connor, and she casually drops that she was engaged to him at one point in time. Both Sam and Connor refuse to return to base, and Jack finally accepts this after some back and forth. The sun on this planet is lethal, and people have to live in caves in order to avoid overexposure. We learn that Hansen dove straight into his supposed godhood and even saved a small child at great risk to himself, proving himself to the natives. Connor's actor does pretty well with this fireside scene. This show does alright with side characters from time to time. SG-1 then comes under attack, and thankfully the attackers are scared off by Teal'c's staff blast. They did kidnap Lieutenant Connor though. Hansen orders that the natives are to begin working even during the day, against the advice of his still loyal second-in-command. Sam and Daniel chat about her history with Captain Hansen, and she reveals that he had this dark streak in him all along. We see Lieutenant Connor is tied to one of the stakes and left to bake in the sun, and Jack decides to make a move. Sam decides to go in on her own, knowing that she can get close to Hansen due to their shared history. She surrenders after punching this guy out and is taken straight to the newest wannabe god. Jonas Hansen has convinced himself that he is saving these poor souls, and he reiterates his supposed godhood. This goes on and on for a bit, and the dude has clearly lost it. The rest of SG-1 follow along and offer to help the person being beaten earlier, and reveal themselves as gently as possible to try and collect some information about this planet and society. Sam ends up pulling a gun on Hansen, but struggles with actually pulling the trigger, even against his constant insane ranting. I honestly think that a Samantha Carter from later seasons may have at least winged this guy in the shoulder or something, but oh well. Teal'c does his best to calm the poor native, who recognizes him as a Jaffa. They've not been around in some time, but he still knows stories from their past. Our new friend here reveals that they're following a prophecy that Jonas can turn the sky orange and save them all from the sun. Teal'c seems to recognize this story, and we cut back to Sam and Captain Crazy for a moment before he explains that it is a large energy shield that the Goa'uld use to protect themselves and their people. Captain Cuckoo tells Sam that he wants her to turn on the shield, and even makes the sweet offer for her to be his goddess when she eventually comes around. He also reveals that he has been ripping off the Bible since he got here, which is one of the oldest tricks in the book. Jack is going to make a rescue attempt for Lieutenant Connor, and the rest of the team begins searching for the secondary device needed to activate the shield. Teal'c even busts out the over-the-shoulder staff shot for what I think is the first time, and I like how it shows back up every now and then as like the accurate way to shoot a staff weapon. Thankfully, Jack's marksmanship applies even to blowguns, and we see him attempt to rescue Lieutenant Connor. They don't make it very far, and the duo is taken to where Carter is working on the device with Jonas. The B team has luckily excavated the second device, and their new friend runs up and says everyone's gathering at the Stargate. We see that Captain Crackpot has turned the Stargate onto its side and will be sending the non-believers back to the hell from whence they came. Since no one has sent an all-safe signal, this would be fatal for anyone sent through the gate. Daniel and the others reveal themselves and save SG-1, and they explain the truth behind the false god. And Hansen activates the shield in a last-ditch attempt to prove his divinity. Daniel talks them all down and proves that these are just technological devices, and has Jamala give a signal to Teal'c so he activates the second device, thus completing the shield loop and protecting everyone from the UV radiation of the sun. The natives finally rebel, and they end up throwing old Captain Jackass through the gate themselves. Sam is regretful for her actions earlier with Hansen, but Jack does his best to absolve her by explaining that they should never take the action of killing lightly. And that's what separates him from people like Hansen at the end of the day. Sometimes it has to be done, but it's never an easy decision. We see the locals looking forward to their new life outside of the caves, and they wish SG-1 well as they head back home with Lieutenant Connor in tow. So what happens to poor Lieutenant Connor after this mission? I mean, his commander and fellow officer just went rogue and murdered his only loyal teammate left. This poor dude would totally be justified in transferring to a desk position somewhere nice and calm after this little escapade. It's not a bad episode though in the long run. This was a nice little self-contained story that mostly served to demonstrate Jack's loyalty to his fellow soldiers and that Sam is not a stone-cold killer. You need a bit of all of that to make a successful team, and this will not be the last time that SG-1 has to deal with allies turned into enemies. This Stargate-themed Apocalypse Now reference was also the first of several episodes to be written by Robert C. Cooper, a name that most fans of the series will recognize. He would later go on to headline both Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe. There's some interesting aspects to this episode in that a lot of the tropes that will continue throughout the entirety of the show, such as humans are not divine, what does it mean to actually be a god, and the proper way to uplift someone from their primitive state. And it's interesting to see how early they were trying to get these ideas focused in. One of Jack's lines about, does it actually say the word colonel on my uniform, will also come back up later in a truly fantastic way. But we'll get to that about another 194 episodes. If you know, you know. Do you think this little foray into what it means to be a god is a good SG-1 episode overall? Let me know your opinion down in the comments, or what you would have done differently if you were out there standing up to this guy. I'm hoping to start some fun discussion between fans if possible, and I appreciate your engagement either way. Please consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. I'm sure to get you your favorite episode at some point. Thanks again for any and all of your time. I've been Dr. Ursa, and until next time, take care.